I was just a hippie kid around a lot of little young mobsters, you know. And soon when my parents got divorced, we ended up in Florida, in Hialeah, Florida. So I grew up a lot in Hialeah, you know, and we used to come back and forth. So those stages of my life, my adolescent stages, were really split. There was a good chunk straight through in Brooklyn, and there was a good chunk straight through in Hialeah, and then it was constantly back and forth from Bensonhurst to Hialeah, consistently throughout my whole life.
I knew how I was going to do it as we were writing it. I would make sure that we didn't leave the scene until I knew how I would indicate it. We did a little bit of research to find out that it makes sense that somebody would not sign and yet not speak. And there are a lot of people like that in this world. And ultimately, it's sort of this is kind of an inside answer, but I found that the difficulty of acting something like this is the same whether you have a lot of words or no words. The difficulty is showing up and having the will to look the other actor in the eye and get your way.
My agent said, you know, people are starting to get the idea that Richard Bachman might be Stephen King. I think we need to put an author photograph on the back of it. So he got his tire salesman to take a picture. He looked better than I did. He had that rugged writerly look. So what about A Time to Kill?
So, okay, back to our story. Time to Kill came out in the summer of '89, and they put in 5,000 hardback copies, and I bought 1,000 of them. I mean, I was trying to sell the things out of the trunk of my car. I had this notion that in our little small hometown where I lived in Mississippi, there was not a decent bookstore, but we had a really good library. And so I went to my librarian, and I said, hey, I got this novel coming out, and I'm going to buy 1,000 copies of the book. Let's have a huge, big book party, and so my hometown can come celebrate, you know, what I've done. And we did that, and we have pictures of my kids who were very small back then climbing on 1,000 copies of A Time to Kill. That's a lot of books, by the way. That's a lot of books. So we had this huge book party, and a lot of folks showed up, and a lot of folks didn't. And I took names for a long time, okay? When the book party was over, I still owned 882 copies of A Time to Kill. And I had an invoice coming to pay for the things. I was going to make some profit there, some royalty. I had it all figured out. And so I went back to my librarian in a panic, and I said, hey, I can kind of take this show on the road and go to, if you have buddies with other libraries. And it took me 35 libraries later, and I unloaded A Time to Kill. And those things are now worth...
And you know what? It's a hell of a book. If you haven't read it, you ought to. That's a terrific novel. It stands up. It stands up.
I fell in with this group called the Vest Pocket Players, which had a small sort of company that had formed itself in off campus in a little coffee house, and used to do satirical reviews every week.
Forbidden Bloomington?
What's that?
Forbidden Bloomington?
Forbidden Bloom. Well, it was more like That Was the Week That Was. I don't know if you remember that show,
sure.
But they took the week's news, and then we would do satirical sketches. So I was the pianist. I was the accompanist in that group, basically. So when they do a little parody song, I would be accompanying. And then I got to start doing things, and then we took over the coffee house one summer. I stayed in Bloomington, and that's where I think, got hooked, because we built our own stage, we built our own lighting system. We had a playwright, we did his plays, we kept doing the satirical reviews. Wednesday nights was improv night, where we did improvisation. And that was, the fact that it was ours, I think, and the fact that we built it and developed it, I really got hooked.
Say, unless this guy's an actor practicing a monologue or he's got Tourette's, he's looking at me, telling me to. And David looked over his shoulder and he goes, "Oh, that's Val Kilmer." And I didn't know who Val Kilmer was then, you know. And he got up and he went over and started talking to me. David knew him, And he waved me over, and I got up and I walked over. I said, "How you doing? My name's Matthew." "Yeah, I know who you are. I'm sick of you, man." And I said, "Look, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what problem you have with me, but if you got a problem, let's take it outside. I told you, I'm the youngest of 7. I grew up fighting 4 older brothers my whole life. My sister was the worst. She was the toughest, yeah. She used to put her dress over her head and fart. It was she called it the gas chamber, you know, so, yeah. Sorry, Marcia.
I'm nothing if not inventive. Yeah, I graduated from school, and at the time, they gave you no indication of how you were now supposed to translate this into a career. And a bunch of my friends were going to New York, so I went with them. I knew I wanted to be in movies, but I was too dumb to realize I should go to LA. So now I'm in New York and working at Ann Taylor and wondering how I'm supposed to get in movies. So at the time, Christy Brinkley and Lauren Hutton, models like that were getting parts in movies. So I thought, okay, here's my big plan. I will become a model, and then they'll just offer me parts in movies, and that'll work out, because it's so easy to become a supermodel. And that didn't work out. But I did. I was able to support myself modeling, and I had a cover I was very proud of, New Jersey Monthly.
Some people slid slightly early. Like, da, 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 what, you know, I want everybody, that's the thing, all right? Again, 1, and go. Now we're talking. I don't think anyone is scared of me. Maybe they want to do their best. Maybe they respect me. I have no idea. But I certainly don't think they're scared of me, and I don't think they're intimidated, because I try to make them feel comfortable. You know, when something doesn't sound right, there's several ways of saying that it doesn't sound right. You can either say, "My God, that sounds horrible," or you can say, "Well, it's not entirely perfect." And the minute you say something like this, everybody sort of gets put at ease.
Hi, I'm Rondé Barber, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm Tiki Barber of the New York Giants. Please join us and other celebrities at the 13th Avenue Sports Gala on Saturday, April 2nd. Tickets are $125, and proceeds benefit the 13th Community Center of Bradenton. It'll be a great time for a great cause. Hope to see you there.
The generation that started it, really, it was after the great 30s comedies and the great films of the 40s, the Zinnemann acting, those films. It was really Marlon Brando, Montgomery Clift, and James Dean who really changed film acting. It became much more internal and wonderful. And that really, I kind of set the tone. And then these 2 Italian guys, Pacino and De Niro, came along and pushed the envelope further. Both great film actors, and we're all trying to catch up with them still.
Richard Greenberg is one of my dearest friends in the whole world. We've known each other since the first day of Yale School of Drama. We met, literally. He looked at me and thought, "Oh, snotty blonde girl." And I looked at him and I thought, "Oh, what a lovely man." And turns out, you know, he was like a nice Jewish boy from Long Island. You know, but he thought I was kind of like the snooty girl. But it turns out I was the crazy girl.
So I'm in Publix, and I'm there to get orange juice and a spatula, and I come up the aisle where they have the housewares. I call it the aisle because it's got all this useful that at some point you want, spatulas and drainers and these gadgets that you don't even know what they're for, but you want to buy them. You want to buy them. And this woman comes around the far end of the aisle, and she was a Florida special, a snowbird, you know, just tanned to the color of leather and, 80, 85 years old, the perfect white hair and everything. And she looked at me and she looked away and then she did a double take and she said, I know you. You're Stephen King. You write those scary things. And that's all right for some people. Some people like those scary things. I don't understand why. I don't like those scary things. She said, I like uplifting things like that Shawshank Redemption. And I said, I wrote that. And she said, no, you didn't.